They were secretly poisoning me for months. Then, at my daughter's birthday, I learned a secret that destroyed my whole family. I didn't plan to accuse anyone that night. I really didn't. My daughter Lily had just turned 7. The house smelled like strawberry frosting and plastic balloons, that weird mix of sugar and latex that always clings to kids' birthdays. She was in the living room, spinning in her new pink dress like a ballerina on fast forward, while a dozen screaming children stomped cupcake crumbs into the carpet. And me? I was sitting at the dining table, handshaking under the tablecloth, watching Raymond laugh with my dad like they were best friends. Like everything was normal. Like I hadn't spent the last 6 months vomiting blood into hospital drains. Raymond and my cousin, 22, all cocky grin and stupid slick back hair, was cutting slices of cake like he owned the place. Every time he handed someone a plate, he flashed the fake boyish smile that made everyone think he was harmless. They had no idea. He glanced at me. Just a flick of the eyes, quick, dismissive. Like I was already a dead man. That was the moment I knew I wouldn't keep quiet. But to explain why, I have to rewind. The first time I collapsed, it was last September. I was pouring cereal for Lily before school. 1 second I was upright, the next the world just tilted, and I slammed into the counter. She screamed. I remember grabbing the edge of the sink, trying to laugh it off, saying something like, "Guess I skipped breakfast one too many times." But it didn't stop. The dizziness. The stabbing stomach pain. The fatigue so intense I could fall asleep standing in the shower. Then came the vomiting. The kind where your body goes empty but keeps trying. By October, I was in the hospital. Room 204. 4th floor. I remember the flickering fluorescent light above the bed that never fully turned off. The nurses were kind but clinical. They spoke in soft voices like I was already halfway to the grave. My dad visited twice. In a full month. And both times, he stayed less than 10 minutes. He brought Raymond once. They brought me a smoothie. I remember it because it tasted off. Like metal and mint. I forced half of it down, just to be polite. That night, I almost died. My vision blurred. Skin burning hot, then freezing cold. I hit the call button, and everything went white. I woke up with tubes in my arms and the doctor telling me my system had gone toxic. He asked if I'd ingested anything unusual. I said no. Because why would I suspect anything? By December, I was down 20 pounds. My hair was thinning. Lily would hug me and say, "Daddy, you feel like a coat hanger." Doctors were baffled. Autoimmune? Liver failure? A known pathogen? They ran test after test. Nothing. Meanwhile, Raymond kept dropping by the house. Sometimes with groceries. Sometimes just to check on us. Always charming. Always helpful. He'd bring energy drinks. Homemade soup. Protein shakes. Special herbal teas. He'd say things like, "Come on, man, you gotta eat. Lily needs you strong." And I'd idiot that I was, trusted him. The turning point came in January. I walked into the kitchen late one night, craving water. Raymond was there. I didn't even know he'd let himself in. He was standing at the counter, stirring something into a glass of orange juice. He froze when he saw me. "Whoa," he said, smiling too fast. "Didn't hear you." "What are you doing?" He lifted the glass like a peace offering. "Vitamin powder. Thought I'd make you one for tomorrow." But his hand was shaking. I didn't drink it. I poured it down the sink. The liquid foamed white. I didn't say anything at first. Who wants to accuse family of poisoning them? That's the kind of thing you read about in tabloids, not real life. But I started watching, keeping track, comparing how I felt after different meals, testing things before I consumed them. Patterns formed. Then I got smart. 2 weeks ago, I sent one of Raymond's health smoothies to a private lab. I told them it was for my dog. I paid extra for express analysis. 3 days ago, they called me. They asked if I was sure it was for an animal, because the cocktail inside that drink could cause long-term organ degradation if administered repeatedly. I didn't sleep for 48 hours. And now here we were. My daughter's birthday party. Raymond laughing with frosting on his fingers. My father beside him, smiling like nothing was wrong. I stood up. The chair scraped loud across the tile. Everyone turned. I was done being quiet. I didn't have a speech prepared. My throat was raw before I even opened my mouth. My dad looked annoyed. Raymond just looked amused. "Hey, Chris," he said, licking frosting off his thumb. "You good?" I stared at him, then at the cake, then at all the kids sitting cross-legged on the floor, waiting for me to say something cheerful like, "Who wants ice cream?" Instead, I said, "Don't eat anything he touched." Silence. Every adult froze. Every kid paused mid-bite. My ex-wife Samantha, who was standing near the snack table, blinked at me with that "What are you doing?" face. I didn't care. I stepped toward Raymond. My heartbeat thudded like someone was punching my chest from the inside. My voice came out lower than I intended. "I know what you've been putting in my drinks." For a moment, he didn't react. He just looked at me. Blank. Then he laughed. A short, chop laugh. Like I just told a bad joke. "Bro," he said, shaking his head. "What the hell are you talking about?" I didn't answer. I pulled the folded sheet of paper from my pocket of the lab report. My fingers trembled so hard I nearly dropped it. I slapped it on the table. You've been poisoning me for months. I asked. Lily stood in the hallway, clutching her stuffed unicorn, confused. Her lips parted like she wanted to ask something but didn't dare. Raymond's expression changed. He didn't look amused anymore. He looked alert, measuring me. My dad stood slowly. His voice was firm. Christopher, that's enough. I turned to him. Did you know? His jaw tightened. Sit down, now, you're making a scene. A scene? I laughed an ugly, hysterical sound. You're damn right I'm making a scene. I almost died because of him, twice. Raymond raised his hands defensively. Look, I don't know what you think you found, but you're sick, man. You need help. I needed help, I shot back. And you fed me poison. My voice cracked on that last word. My dad stepped between us. You're scaring the kids. I snapped. They should be scared. Half the room flinched. One kid started crying. Samantha rushed forward, whispering harshly. What is wrong with you? This is Lily's birthday. I know. I turned toward Lily. She looked so small. So lost. Her eyes were wet. I swallowed hard. Tried to steady my breathing. Sweetheart, go upstairs, right now. She didn't move. Please, I whispered. She turned and ran. That should have been enough. I could have stopped. Called the cops quietly. Gathered evidence. Been smart. But I wasn't smart. I was a dying man with nothing left to lose. So I grabbed Raymond by the collar. The room erupted. Hands pulled me back. Jordan. Someone yelled, call 911. Someone else screamed to stop them. Raymond shoved me away so hard I hit the table. The cake wobbled, toppled sideways, splattering across the floor like a crime scene. My dad grabbed my arm. Hard. His fingers dug into my skin like talons. Listen to me, he hissed. You need to shut up. Shut. Oh. Those words. I stopped struggling. I looked at him. Really looked. His eyes weren't anger. They were frightened. Not for me. Of me. Or worse, of the truth. And suddenly I knew. He knew. He'd always known. My voice came out quiet. Dead quiet. You helped him, didn't you? His grip loosened. He didn't deny it. He just looked away. Everything inside me went hollow. The shouting around me faded. My vision blurred at the edges like frost spreading across glass. All I could see was my father, the man who taught me to ride a bike, who patched my scraped knees, who lifted me onto his shoulders at the fair, standing there, silent. Choosing him. Choosing Raymond. Over me. Over his own son. I didn't cry. Not yet. My tears were trapped somewhere deep, frozen solid. Instead, I straightened my shirt. Wiped frosting off my sleeve. Then I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Someone call the police. Raymond's eyes widened. My dad finally spoke. Don't do this. I turned to him. You already did. That was the moment everything truly snapped. Not when I got sick. Not when I got the lab report. It was when I realized I hadn't been abandoned. I'd been targeted. By my own blood. And I had no idea why. Not yet. But I was going to find out. Even if it destroyed what was left of me. The police arrived faster than I expected. 2 officers, one older with a mustache that looked like he regretted growing it, the other young and nervous, stepped into the house like they'd walked into the world's most awkward circus. Kids were huddled in corners clutching juice boxes. Adults whispered in clusters like badly hidden gossip columns. Raymond stood beside my father, arms crossed, acting offended. Like I was a crazy one. The older cop approached me first. Sir, we got reports of an altercation. I pointed at Raymond. He's been poisoning me. The cop's eyebrows shot up like I'd just confessed to being Batman. He turned slowly toward Raymond. Is that true? Raymond let out a breathy laugh. Jesus, no, he's delusional. My father added, he's been very ill, he thinks. I have proof, I snapped. I slapped the lab report into the cop's hand. He unfolded it and read silently. The rune held its breath. He looked up. Whose name is this order under? Mine. And where's the substance tested from? My cousin Smoothie. Raymond rolled his eyes. It's vitamins, he's paranoid. The cop held up a finger. We'll determine that. He turned to Raymond. Do you have any of these supplements on you? Raymond glanced at my father. Just a glance. That was enough. I caught it. The cop caught it. Everyone caught it. The tension snapped like a guitar string. Sir, the officer said, shifting his stance, I am going to need you to step outside with me. Raymond raised his hands defensively. You can't just... It's voluntary, but if you refuse, it becomes less voluntary. My father stepped in front of him. You're not arresting him, not without a warrant. The officer didn't flinch. I didn't say arrest. I said talk, unless you want to escalate. My father bristled. Escalate? His voice dropped to a growl. There's nothing to talk about. He's mentally unstable. That word. Mentally unstable. It hit me harder than anything else. Not confused. Not mistaken. Not even overreacting. They had the script ready. Because they rehearsed it. I realized then, if I hadn't called the cops while people were watching, they would have had me institutionalized. Declared me a danger to myself. Locked me away somewhere quiet. And no one would have questioned it. Something inside me snapped again. But this time, it wasn't rage. It was clarity. Cold. Precise. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just said, ask him why my mother really left. Silence. Absolute. Every head turned. Even Samantha froze. My father didn't move. His jaw clenched. His eyes, usually cold, flickered with something I hadn't seen in years. Regret. That's when I knew. There was more. So much more. The younger cop, confused, asked, Sir, what does he mean? My father didn't answer. Raymond did. He laughed. Too fast. His mom didn't leave, she died. Car crash. Everyone knows that. Everyone nodded because that was the story. That's what I had been told my whole childhood. But something about the way he said it so quick, so dismissive, made bile rise in my throat. I stepped toward him. Say it again. He blinked. What? Say it again. Look me in the eyes and say she died in a car crash. He hesitated. Just half a second. But it was enough. The younger cop squinted. Did she? My father exhaled slowly. He rubbed his forehead like a man watching his insulation burn. Finally he spoke. She didn't die in a crash. The room collectively sucked in air. Raymond shot him and looked like, what the hell are you doing? I just stood there, numb. She didn't what? My father looked up, and for the first time in 20 years, I saw guilt in his eyes. Your mother is alive. Everything blurred. My ears rang. My hands went cold. I felt like I was falling through the floor. Alive. Alive. My mother, the woman I grieved for, the woman whose empty grave I visited, was alive. I whispered, where? He didn't answer. I screamed, where? The officer stepped between us. Sir. Not. I shoved past him. Grabbed my father by the shirt. Where is she? He didn't fight back. He just stared at me. Then he said one word. A name. A place. A truth that cracked everything open. St. Alderwoman Rehabilitation Center. That's what he said. I didn't recognize the name at first. It sounded like a church. Or a nursing home. Or maybe both. It wasn't until the younger cop muttered, isn't that the psych facility off Route 19, that it hit me like a brick to the chest. Psych. Facility. My mother wasn't dead. She'd been locked away. For 27 years. The chaos in the room faded. Everything went muffled like I was underwater. A kid was crying. Someone said this is too much. Someone else whispered, oh my God. I didn't care. I lunged at my father, grabbing his collar so hard he gasped. His face was inches from mine. You lied to me. He didn't meet my eyes. She was unstable. What did you do to her? He swallowed. She tried to take you away. She said I was dangerous. She said there were toxins in the food. That we were being... He stopped himself. Too late. I froze. Silence hung between us. Like a wire pulled tight, ready to snap. I whispered, she said you were poisoning us. He finally looked at me. He didn't deny it. My hands went numb. It wasn't supposed to go this far, he said quietly. It was just meant to calm her down. She wouldn't stop talking about chemicals in the house, in the food, in everything. She was hysterical, paranoid. So you drugged her. My voice was barely audible. His eyes flickered. Raymond stepped forward, finally breaking his fake calm. Enough, he knows now. Just stop. Just stop. As if that fixed anything. As if the truth could be contained. I turned toward Raymond. You knew. Since I was a kid. He said casually, like he was admitting to sneaking candy before dinner. Uncle had told me everything, said you'd snap like she did if you ever found out. He smirked. Guess he was right. My vision went red. I didn't think. I tackled him. We hit the floor hard. Chairs flew. Someone screamed. The young cop rushed forward, shouting, hey, hey, stand down. But I didn't hear him. My fist connected with Raymond's jaw. He yelped, scrambling, trying to claw at my face. I grabbed his wrist. Slammed it against the tile. He howled. The older cop wrenched me backward by the shoulders. That's enough. Raymond stumbled to his feet, clutching his bleeding lip, glaring like a feral dog. You want crazy. He spat. You want truth. He pointed at my father. Tell him why you wanted him gone. My father froze. Everyone turned to him. Even the cops paused. That was when I realized this wasn't just about them poisoning me because I was sick. There was another reason. A bigger one. A secret so big they were willing to kill me slowly rather than let it surface. I stepped toward my father. Say it. He didn't. So I screamed, a voice cracking like glass shattering. Say it. The house fell dead silent. My father closed his eyes. And then quietly, like confessing in church. You're not my son. I didn't react at first. The words floated there, weightless, like they were waiting for me to give them gravity. Then they sank. Hard. My knees buckled. I caught myself on the edge of the table. Not his son. Not his son. The man who raised me. The man who taught me to tie my shoes. Who grounded me for stealing candy at 7. Who held me when I broke my arm at 9. Not my father. I looked at him. Really looked. His face was unreadable. The officer stepped forward cautiously. Sir, I think you need to... I ignored him. Then who am I? My father didn't answer. Raymond did. That, he said, wiping blood from his chin, is the fun part. I turned toward him slowly. He grinned. Your real father, he's not dead either. Asps. Whispers. Someone muttered, this is insane. I stood there, frozen in the wreckage of cake and wrapping paper and lies. My mother alive. My father a lie. My blood unknown. And the people who were supposed to protect me had been slowly killing me. The cop finally spoke. We need to move this outside, now. But I didn't move. Because I knew one thing. This wasn't over. This was only the beginning. We ended up outside. The cold air hit me like a wall. Frostbite at my cheeks. My hands were still shaking, even though I wasn't touching anyone anymore. Cops separated us, keeping Raymond and my dad on one side, me on the other. Lily huddled in Samantha's arms, still clutching her stuffed unicorn, wide-eyed and trembling. The party was over. Balloons sagged limply in the wind. Cupcakes lay scattered on the driveway. I felt like the world had folded in on itself. The younger officer handed me a blanket. I didn't take it. I just stared at Raymond, who smoked under the street lamp, hands stuffed in his pockets, pretending the chaos didn't involve him. Pretending he hadn't tried to kill me in little doses over months. The older officer cleared his throat. We're taking statements. We need everything you know, all of it. I started talking, voice low, shaky, but precise. The smoothies. The teas. The soup. Every sip, every bite. The hospital visits. How my father barely came to see me. How he smiled while Raymond poisoned me. How every helpful gesture had been calculated. The cops nodded, scribbling furiously. I caught sight of my dad. He was pale. His usual calm composure was gone. For the first time, fear showed in his eyes. He's telling the truth, I said to the officers. All of it. Raymond rolled his eyes again. This is getting boring. Shut up, I spat. One of the cops radioed for backup and an ambulance just in case I collapsed again. I felt fine, in a way. Numb, but alive. Alive and furious. Samantha finally whispered in my ear, Chris, what now? I didn't answer. My mind was racing. My daughter had witnessed everything. My life had been a lie. My parents had been lying to me about my mother, my bloodline, and even my health. And the person I trusted most to my father had been complicit. I realized I couldn't go back. I couldn't forgive them yet. Not for months of suffering. Not for the years of hidden truths. Not for letting me get so close to death. But I had to protect Lily. She was small, innocent, unaware. Her birthday had become a nightmare. And I couldn't let Raymond near her again. The police moved Raymond and my dad into separate vehicles. I followed with Lily and Samantha in my car. We drove in silence. She finally leaned her head on my shoulder, whispering, Daddy, are you okay? I kissed the top of her head, tasting frost and tears. I lied. Or maybe it was true. I didn't know yet. At home, I started packing a small bag for myself and Lily. Clothes, toothbrushes, favorite toys. I wasn't running and not yet. I was preparing. Preparing to protect the only person left who mattered. Preparing for the next wave of revelations. Later that night, after Lily had fallen asleep, I sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at the lab report, the leftover frosting on the plate, the chaos still etched into every corner of the house. I realized something else. Even if the police could press charges, even if Raymond went to jail, even if my dad confessed everything that there were truths, they could never give me back. My mother. My real father. My childhood, my health, my trust in everyone. And yet, a small ember of clarity burned inside me. I had survived months of poisoning. I had survived betrayal. I had survived a family who smiled while destroying me. I could survive this too. The dawn crept through the blinds, pale and fragile. For the first time in months, I felt the tiniest sliver of hope. Not trust. Not forgiveness. Not closure. Just hope. I whispered into the cold, empty kitchen. I will find her, I will find my mother, and I will make sure none of this ever touches Lily again. For the first time, I allowed myself to breathe. It's been months since that night. Months of police investigations, hospital visits, and lawyers knocking on my door. Raymond is under house arrest. My father is being questioned about his role in everything, and I finally got the court documents to locate my mother. St. Alderwoman Rehabilitation Centre. I drove there alone one chilly morning. Frost fogged the windshield. My hands gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. I wasn't sure what I'd find. Would she recognize me? Would she be alive? Would she hate me for believing she was dead all those years? I walked into the facility. The scent of antiseptic hit me first. Cold, sterile, metallic. I followed the nurse's directions down a hallway painted pale blue. At the end of the corridor, a door opened. She was there, sitting quietly in a chair, staring at a painting on the wall. Her hair had grayed, but her eyes were unmistakable. White, luminous, still warm. I called her name. Christopher? I froze. My throat tightened. Tears blurred my vision. Well, she stood, hands trembling. I ran to her. The embrace was instant. I felt her heartbeat against mine. 27 years of lies, absence, and grief melted in that hug. I thought you were dead, I whispered. I know, she said, voice cracking. They told me you were, they lied. I wanted to come back. But I couldn't. I had to protect you. It hit me, the years of poisoning, the hospital visits, the loneliness, the betrayal, all of it. My mother had been silenced, and I had been punished for seeking the truth. We sat for hours that day, talking, crying, laughing through the haze of trauma. I learned things I couldn't have imagined. Raymond had been acting under my father's instructions, thinking it was some twisted family protection. My father had manipulated both of us, keeping secrets for his own sense of control. But in that moment, I realized something crucial. The past couldn't be changed, but I could reclaim the present. I could rebuild trust with my mother. I could protect Lily. I could start living again. I returned home that night and looked at Lily sleeping in her bed. Her small chest rose and fell, her stuffed unicorn clutched tightly. I kissed her forehead. I promise you, I whispered, no one will ever hurt us like that again. The following months weren't easy. Raymond's legal proceedings dragged on. My father was arrested and faced charges for attempted poisoning and conspiracy. But I focused on healing physically, mentally, emotionally. Therapy, support groups, and spending time with Lily and my mother helped me reclaim the trust I lost. I also learned to forgive myself. I'd survived. I'd confronted the people who tried to destroy me. And I'd found my mother, alive against all odds. Now, my life is quieter but more honest. I still struggle sometimes in nightmares, sudden fears, flashes of betrayal. But I face them head on, not alone. I spend afternoons baking with Lily, afternoons talking to my mother about everything we miss, nights reading and planning a future we control. I've learned that betrayal doesn't define you. Trauma doesn't have to break you. Sometimes, the most heartbreaking abandonment leads to the strongest reclamation. And as for Raymond and my father, justice will take its course. I don't wish them harm, but I will never trust them again. They are ghosts in my life, reminders of how fragile trust is, and how resilient we can be when it's broken. Most importantly, I've learned to live for myself and my daughter. For our little bubble of safety and love, protected from the poison of lies. I can breathe. I can laugh. I can finally, slowly trust in life again. And somewhere deep inside, I carry hope, not naive, not blind, but fierce and unwavering. Hope that one day, even after everything, the past will feel distant, and the present will finally belong to me and Lily.